Hey YouTube, welcome back. We're here to talk just all the insanity again. And something I just wanted to share with everyone here is there's this insane video I ran across where Bernie Sanders predicts every single thing that happened in the election a week ago. I'm going to share my screen here, and here we go. As soon as this opens up.
Although the election is November 3rd, and it's been said that we won't know the results until days later. When do you think we'll know the results?
All right. Jimmy, you raise an important point, and I hope the American people understand it because this is something I worry about. My view is every vote must be counted. For reasons which I don't have the time to get into tonight, you're going to have a situation, I suspect, in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, other states, where they are going to be receiving huge amounts of mail-in ballots. And unlike states like Florida or Vermont, they're not being able, for bad reasons, to begin processing those ballots until, I don't know, election day, or maybe when the polls close. That means you're gonna have states dealing with perhaps millions of mail-in ballots. Here is my worry. What polls show and what studies have shown is that for whatever reason, Democrats are more likely to use mail-in ballots. Republicans are more likely to walk into polling booths on election day. It is likely that the first votes that will be counted will be those people who came in on election day, which will be Republican. And here is the fear, and I hope everybody hears that. It could well be, and I don't know what's going to happen, nobody does, but it could well be that at 10 o'clock on election night, Trump is winning in Michigan, he's winning in Pennsylvania, he's winning in Wisconsin, and he gets on the television and he says, "Thank you, Americans, for re-electing me. It's all over. Have a good day." But then the next day and the day following, all of those mail-in ballots start getting counted, and it turns out that Biden has won those states. At which point Trump says, "See, I told you the whole thing was fraudulent. I told you those mail-in ballots were crooked. And I got, we're not going to leave office."
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because that's exactly what happened. Bernie Sanders proclaimed Michigan,
that couldn't
Wisconsin.
have been better called. That could not have been more right on the money. If the guy was like a stock market trader or a futures trader or anybody making money on this bet, man, he would have made a killing. I wonder. You know what I mean? That's what a call, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But it's scarily accurate.
That literally leaves me scratching my head. That literally leaves me scratching. Holy shit.
Well, what blows my mind about it is he didn't pick states you'd expect, like Ohio,
like typical battleground states, right.
He picked the ones
random ass states, dude.
Right, that no one else would pick, but the ones
why Pennsylvania?
Why Pennsylvania?
And why 10 p.m.?
Yeah, exactly. Because at 10 p.m. what actually happened was voting stops now. No more votes. We're gonna figure something out, and then voting started again in like the middle of the night, and that's where we saw the 135,000 jump in both Wisconsin and Michigan.
I mean, that's a pretty good. I mean, I could see how he called that, because if he was an intelligent forecaster, which he apparently is, and I'm surprised I didn't see that either. That makes a lot of sense, because Republicans are the ones rejecting the lockdowns and the virus, and the Democrats were the ones embracing it and loving it because they were getting a lot of welfare and a lot of government control out of it collectively between the government and its constituency.
Right.
You know what I mean? So because he knows the way it works, I see why he called it. It's not to say that he predicted a corrupt situation, but calling specifically those states, that's the kicker. It's not that he called it at all, because he could have just said that broadly. And it would have been like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. But he was Pennsylvania? Since
Right.
when on earth has Pennsylvania been, unless he saw the geo political information system statistics of that region and came up with that, which a lot of politicians are using now in their politicking.
Hmm.
If you knew anything about that industry back then in 2012, Tyler, it increased a lot in 4 years, or I'm sorry, in 8 years. Now they've got like instant apps that can tell you while you're walking where Republicans are, where Democrats are living, where independents are. Like you can hold your phone and just walk around, like literally like when they played that game, Pokemon, whatever, Pokemon
Come on,
Go.
go.
Like you'd be walking around, be like, you literally see like the buildings and GPS, be like, okay, a lot of Republicans live in that building, a lot of Democrats live in that building, a lot of, it's crazy, man. Like it's crazy. It's called GIS system, Geo Information System.
Wow. And this is partly why I don't register Republican or Democrat.
I really don't remember. After Ron Paul, I kind of just like said, you know what? There's never going to be a candidate like him ever again. But what's so refreshingly a surprise is that Trump, when he beat Rand Paul in the last election in the primaries, I
Hmm.
said to myself, well, damn, man, he really treated Rand Paul like crap. And that was it for me. And he was very establishment for me because he seemed to be very pro-military, pro-police, all, pro-government, all this other stuff. And I didn't hear a lot about what Trump said back then that was too refreshing, besides interviews that I saw that he did before about Iraq. But that was the seed. But what was a surprise is that after he actually got elected, that was where he turned it on the corporations, he turned it on the big pharma and the big gov and the big military, and he turned it around on them all for
Hmm.
us. Like
Yeah.
that was a cool, refreshing thing. It was Obama that like was talking all this nonsense bullshit to the citizens during his election, and then turned it around on them when he was friends with the big companies and the big
Yeah.
military back. And then during his election, and citizens didn't seem to give it because he had black skin, so that was okay. And because he
Well,
talked,
and he was Democrat. That's another thing.
well, whatever. The Democrats are run by media, we know that. But the main things is that I'm talking about the way the citizens see this president.
Definitely Donald Trump has been doing a lot of amazing things diplomatically, internationally, financially for our country, but also like he cares about a lot of people, like minorities. Trump has the biggest black vote of any Republican ever, and there's good reason for that. He what was that act he passed?
Their First Step Act is the one where he essentially released thousands, tens of thousands of African American men and women out of jail and prisons to go back to their communities and back with their families and rejoin the community again. And he pardoned quite a few of them. Um, and in doing so, Angela Scott Keene, I believe her name was, she was pardoned for a crime, and the very next day, and it was a drug crime, of course, because that was what the drug war and the 1994 crime bill
Joe Biden
really,
bill.
it was all encapsulating, was drugs and underfunded communities. And so, anyways, a lot of people got swept up in this nonsense. The majority of them were black men, black fathers, which is why a lot of kids, especially according to activists like Candace Owens, talk about all the time, that a lot of the reason why underfunded communities and a lot of blacks turn to crime is because their fathers were not in the home. It's because their fathers were taken out of the home by the United States government. And when you hear that, you say to yourself, that sounds so conspiratorial. But the 1994 crime bill did just that. It created a inequivalent ratio of arrests in underfunded communities for marijuana possession. And it's something similar to what Kamala Harris did. It's really insane that they went after marijuana use as a way to scoop up and destroy the Black community and the Black family. And in doing so, man, but they did this for years. They did this for years. It was long before the 1994 Crime Bill, in fact. But this was probably the catalyst. And now we have those two crooked POSs running for a fake office of president-elect, who didn't do jack squat. And then Trump, in only 3 years, passed this law that now is, reuniting Black families together. How
Right.
outstanding is that?
Yeah,
And so, anyways, my
yeah.
point is that he's done more in 3 years than Joe Biden has done in close to 50. And now Joe Biden is saying that he wants to fix things and finally get things going. It's a joke, and it's a travesty, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, it pisses me off too. And people keep saying they're going after Trump, and in actuality, what I've heard is they're not going after Trump. They're going after you and me. It's just Trump is standing in the way.
And see, and you just reminded me about something. Is that Trump? This is what I don't understand. Like, not only has he brought peace with North Korea, not only has he brought peace in the Middle East between Israel and quite a few other nations, probably not Palestine, of course not Palestine at the moment, but that's a hurdle that's impossible to climb. But nevertheless, Trump said himself that he's a good negotiator and that he was going to work on it. I mean, this is the kind of guy that we want in office. And I don't want him for just 8 years. I want him for a lot longer. This is the kind of president that I wouldn't mind having as like an FDR, like a four-term president. Like he's the kind of guy that'll actually get things done. A guy who negotiates, a guy who makes deals, a guy who makes friends, a guy who can be a tough enemy. And you've seen it. And the First Step Act was something that he did. Think about that. He did this for a community of people, mostly Black, of course, community of people who he knew hates him. He knows the Black community hates him, but he still did it anyway. It's not like he was doing it for their praise, because these were people who actually needed the help. These were people, decent people who just got caught up in a drug sweep in the 90s that really destroyed families. And that's something, man, that's deep. That's deep, and First Step Act, that there's an interview with Angela Scott King that's really well done, and it's a genuine interview between her and another gentleman, also Black gentleman, who they're just talking about, things that Black voters don't tend to normally hear in an election, and that's the name of the video, and it's very eye opening because there's no fluff, there's no uh, trepidation of racism. There's no feeling of a pink elephant in the room with regards to racism. It's just two Black activists talking about Black voices and why they see the BS in the Democrat Party. And it's eye opening.
Yeah, just we'll roll that clip for you. And just like Malcolm X did, Malcolm X said that, and once again, I'm going to say this as many times as I can until people universally understand it. Malcolm X said the greatest enemy to the Black man is the white liberal. And because the Democratic Party tends to use the Black race as free votes. And what Maxine Waters said this last election is she'd never forgive any Black man who voted for Donald Trump. But she's some Mitch millionaire who lives in a mansion while her district is one of the poorest areas of the country. So in the richest state in the country. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
South LA, baby.
Yeah.
LA. Oh yeah, wait.
Yep. Alrighty. We're out of here. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Yeah.
And the way the citizens saw Obama was like a god, no matter what. no matter what.
Yeah.
Even though he turned it on them. This guy turned it around, and like the other day I saw him doing a speech railing on and during one of the debates railing on big pharma. What president rails on big pharma, man? Come on. During his first term, mind you. Which means he's like, I don't care. I'm gonna say the truth.
Right. Definitely not Joe Biden.
Not anybody, not Bill Clinton, not George Bush 1, not George Bush 2, not Carter, not Ford, not
even Reagan.
Anyone, not anyone, dude. He's the only president I've ever heard to take on big pharma, to help farmers. That's the thing. When you hear the big pharma, big military, big oil, you automatically think big ag, and then when you think big ag, you think farmers are like bad guys, but they're not. Like
agriculture.
Yeah, it's big ag. And so the thing is, though, is that Trump not only is taking on all the big entities, big agencies or industries, but he's helping the little man in each of those.
Right.
He's the farmer in big ag. He's taking care of them. Or the soldier, because do you know that Trump has gone around the world rounding up POWs?
Yeah, I did know
Americans that are in other countries as prisoners, like Trump.
Yeah,
that's mind-boggling. That's like I'm sorry, censor me. That's a mind, dude. That's a dude. Because how on earth can the president get away with that, dude? Like, and I don't know, man. I guess he didn't. And this is how we're seeing it.
Yeah, well, it makes sense as to why we're seeing so many organized, like unions, really rally against Trump, because unions are tied to these industries. And we were talking about this earlier, but the postal workers union is a really good example. There have been postal workers who have been.
God, don't get me started.
I want
that,
to.
Bro. Oh, I mean, I do remember. Good Lord, those people. I just heard today, man. Go ahead.
Well, just in a nutshell, there was a postal worker who was fired for speaking out about him witnessing people throwing away ballots. People who have already done their one time every 2 years or 4 years, if they just vote president, fill out the form. They did all the work. They did the research, and they did the hard work of doing the research and the voting. They spent maybe half an hour putting their ballot together, lick the stamp, put it together, put it in the mail, and then the postal worker just goes to some creek, throws it away. He gets witnessed by his fellow postal worker who says, "Hey, that's not right," and he spills it to the media, and then he gets called out, and then he gets fired by the union. Not the guy who threw out the ballot. Now that guy, that person who put all that work into that ballot to get those votes down, get hit. Who cares about the average citizen? The union fires the guy who calls out the BS.
Is it because that employee didn't go through the proper chain of command?
That's what they'll tell you, but regardless, the proper chain of
no. Yeah, I'm not justifying it. It's just I have personal experience with this when I was a student body president at my college, whereby every time I wanted to get something accomplished at my college on behalf of the students, which it was my job to do, the administration hated it because it didn't suit their narrative. It didn't suit their wallet, their business line. It didn't suit their timeline. And I would never get their permission. I would just do what I needed to do. And they hated it. So they tried kicking me out so many times, man. They tried kicking me out. This is Los Angeles Pierce College, by the way. Joy McCaslin, Student Services Vice President over there. She was so worried that I remained president that after 6 months of me being president, normally a president is there for a 1-year term. Most presidents only survive between 3 months and 6 months. They never survive the full term into the second semester of their year. After 6 months of me kicking ass and taking names, me starting a recycling campaign there, program there for students to actually recycle, and then the money would go to the student government there, and the student government would put on activities for the students there. So I did that. The school hated that. They didn't want that because guess what? The teachers were collecting the recyclables and they were going and taking the money. So oh man, I caught them on so many things. The business office was conducting budget meetings behind locked, closed doors, which is completely against the Brown Act of California,
Yeah.
which cites that you have to have open door meetings, open to the public with 72 hours notice, and anybody should be able from the public to be able to walk in.
All public institutions.
If it's not just behind one locked door, it's behind two locked doors. So you have to be buzzed in behind the business office. Then in the business office, you're in a locked room with no cameras and just a business office dean and VP and the student advisor for the student government, which is also a staff member, and just one student, which is the treasurer for the student body. And that student is usually picked by the student advisor. It's crazy. So when I walked in, I was a little older at the time. When I walked in and I looked around, the last year of senators were all young. The student body president the year before was young. I walked in I was like 24, 23, something like that. I had just done a bunch of work, working on cars, getting my automotive certification. So I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to try academics. So I started academics and I was like, okay, I went to a student government thing to kind of get some brownie points for your thing of classes and grades. What do they call it? The
degree?
Yeah, man. Transcript.
Transcript. Okay. Wow.
I'm having a blonde moment, I guess. Brain fart. But anyway, so I went and I was like, dude, this shit is easy. I could talk. I could stand in front of a bunch of these dumb kids. They'll vote for me. So I did. I became president. And then when I did that and I did all these things, the school was like, holy shit, he shouldn't be president. He's getting too much accomplished for them and taking away from us. And I learned quickly how immediately they try to shut you down. So by the time my winter semester ended, well, I should say my fall semester ended, winter was going to start. I was only going to take 2 classes. So at this point, I didn't know the rule that in each semester, the student body president has to keep a 3.0 grade point average or up. Well, because I was only taking 2 classes, if I did bad in one class, the school had the right to kick me out. So I didn't know this. I took a statistics class, honors, and I took honors geography class, which is where I learned about geoinformation systems, G.A.S. from God rest her soul. Oh man, I can't believe she was a teacher, Gail Hobbs, and God rest her soul, man. She was, God rest her soul. She taught me a lot, man. She was one of those teachers that actually stayed after school just to like teach you.
Nice.
Just to teach you, just to help you. And so anyway, so not only that, but she was an at-large senator for the nationwide student government, but for teachers. So what do they call it? It's called the Academic Senate, but nationwide. That's a huge position. So she knew a lot about politics. She knew that there was a lot of corruption in the school system. She's like, be careful, Christian. They're going to try to kick you out. Oh, bro. She was like right about it all. And then the very next year, she passed away. That same year, she passed away.
Wow.
It was so weird and crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways, like one of the statistics class, honors statistics class, I got a C in that class. Mm-hmm. And that dropped my grade point average down.
You had
so
to have an A in the other
they
class.
tried kicking me out. I had a B in geography, in honors geography, and I had a C. Dude, they were hard, bro. They were not easy, man. They were not easy. But anyways, like, oh, dude, the honors geography class, I met this girl. Oh, bro, I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, that's an off-air type of thing.
So back to Gail Hobbs, a professor of geography at Pierce. She taught me about all the corruption, and I didn't even listen. So then at that point I was a senator, and then I ran for president at a convention in front of like 4,000 people, dude. That's where I learned how to talk in front of people. they tried kicking me out because of that C. And that statistics teacher ended up giving me one more extra assignment right after that, which gave me an A in the class. It was like a bravo moment. And then the student services vice president called me into her office as if she's like some dictator. So I went, whatever. And she's like, Christian, can you explain to me how your C turned into an A? I was like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. I was like, really?
I had a
yes!
C?
So I told her, I was like, yes! Yes! So he finally got that assignment, I told her.
Nice.
Dude, hey, but they tried and then I won. So I continued my second semester for the next 6 months, right? And well, at this point 5 months, because now it's February, so into June. And oh man, I kicked ass and took names, bro. I started a book rental program. I created a union, a contract between me, the students, and the bus riders union to bring bus passes to all the students at our school who were full time. Oh, dude, I was the chair and I was the gavel guy at every meeting at the city and the region, dude. I was the one in charge of the Constitution and the bylaws for all the colleges in Los Angeles County and some in San Diego because they called me for help because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Some in Northern California. And that's what ventured me off into this realm of understanding how bureaucracy works and how corrupt it all can be. So when I've got friends or family or anybody tell me, oh, you're too frustrated, or you're too conspiratorial, or you're too paranoid. Like, if you only fucking knew what I knew, bro. Like, people only knew what I knew, dude.
Right.
And that's why you're not the only person, Tyler. There have been hundreds of people. I was going to say thousands, but I'm going to be realistic. Hundreds of people who have told me I need to be on the radio because I know so much stuff that kind of like personalities like Alex Jones, where like it gets to the point where, or Rogan, where it gets to the point where you just start getting pissed off, man.
Yeah,
because
like Tucker Carlson today.
It's flagrant. It's flagrant corruption. It's flagrant, and it's so flagrant, and it's so it's so spread so rapidly that people around you start to show their true colors. How dumb they are, or how arrogant they are, or how ignorant they are, or how biased and one-sided they are, or how old-fashioned their mentality is, which is what we call dinosaur mentality. A mentality where you get fossilized in your way of thinking and you don't want to move, because if you move and you learn something new and you move, if you move your train of thought, that means that you've been wrong for 30 years. Like
Right.
that, and that's a big that's a big holy shit. What was that guy in the news the other day? He looked down on his phone and he said,
Yeah.
"Oh, fuck shit." Like, it's a fuck
we'll
shit.
Come back to him.
Hey, it's a fuck shit moment.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to show that clip here too. We'll see it.
So
I love that clip.
This fuck shit moment is what all of these people are going through.
Well,
literally.
I mean, there's two parts to it, because what you're talking about, what you're doing with Pierce College, is related to what the postal union deals with. Is unions and governmental bodies tend to police certain ideologies and tend to be financially motivated and corrupt. I think a great example of an industry that is riddled with unions is the entertainment industry. In fact, they have it set up as to where, in order to be working at a certain level for film or network television, you have to be, if you want a certain position, in a union. And you don't get to being in a union until, just like everything else, you meet the right people, you kiss the right butthole.
Yeah, that. dude, like kiss a lot of butt. Okay, I get it.
And if you speak out against any sort of corruption or any dishonesty, you're gone. Famously, there was an incident even on Fox News. Judge Deneen called out Fox for calling Arizona too early. But yes, people move on up by brown nosing and nepotism and all this. Once they get high enough, they are like, either you toe this line or you don't 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 work anymore. But my point on the mass media and how it's just like the postal office union, or what you were dealing with
The National Post Workers Union.
National Postal Workers Union, and like what you're doing with Pierce College, there's all these pressures from high above and these financial incentives for mass media to portray an idea from this influence. And one thing I want to share really quick.
Yes.
Okay. This is what propaganda and conditioning looks like. There is no office of the president-elect. This is not a briefing. It's a man's opinions. So,
that is
so
unbelievable.
Check this out too. They even made a logo, Office of President-elect. They just, put some type together. Did this in like an hour, and Joe Biden's having a briefing on COVID-19. This is called irrigation. It's designed to make you think someone has authority.
That is crazy. Wow.
Because it looks like they do. Joe Biden is having all these pressers about what his cabinet's going to be, and all that.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. The guy is totally trying to steal his election, man. He's trying to. This stupid old man is literally being given the presidency by a bunch of crooked, slimy pieces working in government and FBI and foreign countries and the media and Hollywood, which is full of sycophants and sick people, man.
Right.
And this stupid old man is going on TV and like literally, he's like, "Hey guys, I'm the winner."
Right. Yeah, and actually, isn't
he supposed to be elected by electors on December 3rd?
Yeah, I don't think a state is even confirmed yet. And this just reminds me of the Adolf Hitler quote: "If you tell a lie big enough and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed." And the lie the media keeps saying is Biden's been elected, it's over, Trump's just lying, don't listen to anyone about anything. But clearly, there's still a lot of states up for grabs. There's 5 states up for grabs. Trump is within catching distance, and he still has these 150 plus court cases going on right now. And what you're seeing from people on the left or supporters of Biden is these are just conspiracy theories. These are the QAnon followers. These are just lies that Trump's making for him to do a coup. And it's like, no, the election's not even done yet. Don't listen to the media. But this brings us to Joe Biden. You want to talk about Joe Biden?
Sure, do it.
Okay, Joe Biden is a senile old man who thought he was running for Senate and thought he was running against George Bush and thought his wife was his sister and needs a teleprompter just to do an interview and is going to be a national security disaster if he is in office. And Kamala Harris, I think, is going to be president of the United States before the end of his term. That's my prediction for Joe Biden, because they're going to realize he's going to go talk to Kim Jong-un and he's going to call him Jinping or something, and it's going to be bad.
He's what you would consider like a Democrat George Bush. Stupid, old, and just a puppet. That's it. So yeah, it frightens me because Kamala Harris was probably the worst candidate on that stage during the primaries for the Democrat Party. I mean, her just her demeanor and her facial expressions alone make me cringe. So I don't know how people could possibly imagine having her as an elected official. Let's just put the personality aside and the facial expressions aside and actually look at now her history. Her history in California was to pass uh, mandates and enforce laws against her own demographic of Black people, and that was for incarceration for marijuana. So I'm surprised that people are so um, people's memories are so short in this country. Either that or the other, which is what I was going to segue earlier about what Ron Paul had to deal with, was that a lot of people, in fact, don't like her, and somehow she still got pushed through, just like Joe Biden. Even though a lot of people didn't like Joe Biden, he
Just
still
like
got
Mitt
pushed through.
Romney.
So what I was going to say about Ron Paul in 2012 is that if you actually took time to call people and talk to them and actually talk to them about the policies and the ideas and the facts, the majority of them would not vote for Biden. The majority of them wouldn't. So the reason I'm saying this is because the experience I built during Dr. Paul's campaign in 2012 was that I made so many phone calls and I ran phone banks for the guy that I saw how many people actually liked him. But just that they wouldn't vote for him because the media told them not to. And it was simple that it was all a rigged system then. So I'm surprised why all of a sudden now Fox is deciding to talk about it. And look, God bless their hearts. Thank God Tucker Carlson's talking about it. He said himself a few years back that he had an awakening, uh, and he's changed a lot over the years. And he's not war. He's not for war anymore. He's anti-war now. Now that he has a family, it's a beautiful story, man. Tucker Carlson. He deserves a lot of credit and praise, man. Bravo to him. Taking my hat off that guy. But again, tribute to Tucker Carlson for standing up, because really, Fox has been nothing but propaganda material for years. And nevertheless, now they're all of a sudden complaining about voter fraud and election discrepancies, when in 2012, Fox was a huge part as to why Ron Paul lost.
Yeah, they disappeared him.
But it wasn't just Fox. It was ABC, it was NBC, and when you look at the big picture, it's not the media that's deciding the president, it's the people behind the media who's deciding the president. And a lot of people, for some reason, don't have the energy to look. They don't want to know. Or if they know, they're told not to talk about it because it's a stigma topic. Who owns Hollywood? Who runs Hollywood? There's a good article written by a Los Angeles Times reporter by the name of Joel Stein, who literally set out to disprove the theory that a certain group of people ran Hollywood. And in doing so, he discovered that, in fact, because of his research and reporting, he found that, in fact, he was wrong, that this specific demographic of people actually do own Hollywood. Every single one of them, except for, I believe, one gentleman, is from a specific foreign nation. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why people can't see through that propaganda material. They're the reasons why the media is picking our candidates to be liberal, because the Liberal Party is the one that's for all of the uh, uh, military expenditures, the taxing Americans, the taxing the rich, they really don't care about our constitution. They don't care about our country, our economy.
They're going to pack the courts.
They're going to pack the courts. So, and who else also feels that way. Well, foreign nations feel that way. They don't want our country to survive. They don't want our country to do well. I don't know why. It would be in their best interest, other countries, to see a thriving United States, but for some reason, that's the other thing. Liberals, for some reason, they seem like hell bent on spitting on this president, even though he's done so much good. Whereas conservatives are proud that our country is just doing good. Our country is safe, and our country is prosperous, and our country is not at war. Trump is the first president in 40 years not to enter the United States into a foreign war. That's what the. That's like a holy moment, man. How are people not talking about this? How are people not talking about this?
There's a lot of people.
Trump doesn't accept a single dollar for his salary. I mean,
Right.
he's forced to by law.
Yeah.
Accept $1
at least. Yeah.
And guess where he got that idea
from? Ron Paul.
So all of the ideas that he ran on, and everything that he's doing now, his ideas came from Ron Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron Paul's election was stolen from him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all a vicious cycle. History is repeating itself. Back to what we were talking about. History is repeating itself, and that's literally in only 6 years.
Yeah, it's really messy. Politics seems every 4 years things get worse and worse and worse and worse. There's a lot of videos of liberals voting with multiple ballots.
Right? Like, I don't get it, dude. Like, is it really happening? But when they complain that it's widespread,
dude, if it's thousands every county, yes, it's widespread.
The thing is, though, no, but see, this is the thing, though, is that it's not just, okay, like, I think the reason why a lot of people are disconnected with this topic is because people automatically assume that ballots are like something physical that you can see with your hand. And like, it's, in the majority of the cases, it's not. It's digital, just like digital cryptocurrency. It doesn't even exist. It's just in thin air.
Yeah,
like these votes are in thin air.
Yeah,
anyone can go in there and change them. They can go in there and change them, like, to make it fun if they wanted to. Even like we're gonna give Trump 690,699 votes, and then we're gonna give Trump 70,777,700. You know what I mean? Like hackers can literally do that if they wanted to. So.
Right.
It needs to be like at the caucus level, on paper, in person, with IDs, everyone, period.
Yep.
And they went around asking African American Black people, do you have an ID? And it would go through a process. Do you have an ID? Yes, of course I have an ID. What do you think I am? Walking down the street. Like, that's how they would answer. And then the next question, he would say, did you see this one?
Yes.
See this one, Tyler?
Yeah, because the
well done. I want you to show it.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and I'm here in Berkeley, California to find out if voter ID laws suppress the black vote.
Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad. I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works. A lot of people have smartphones, but they might not have data. For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed. I also think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African American.
Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people their thoughts on what you just heard.
Do you have ID normally? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has ID. Why would they think we don't have ID? That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so like, we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. Like, that's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
What is this, some type of trick candy cameras?
I know, right? That's the only thing I brought with me.
Those are legit IDs. I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's that, it's on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know how to get there?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting there if you had to get there?
No.
I know these sound like silly questions. You know how to get to the DMV?
Of course.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You can get there?
Uh-huh.
No problem.
No problem.
Just checking.
Okay.
And I also heard a lot that black people, especially poor black people, have no access to the internet, can't figure out how to use the internet.
That's just stupidity, honestly. Everybody has access to the internet. Even a little kid can figure out how to work the internet.
I had access to the internet for years.
You know how to use it properly?
Exactly. I do it at work. So, of course, I know how to use it. My kids know how to use it. They all have iPads, iPods, whatever.
Your phone has data?
Mm-hmm.
You can access
Unlimited.
Unlimited data.
Mm-hmm. I use my phone as a hotspot.
What does that say to you for the people who have this perception of black people?
They're pretty much ignorant. That's why my thought process on it.
I just think that's ignorant. Ignorant.
Ignorant. That's the word I hear a lot. Ignorant.
Very, very ignorant.
Does it sound racist for somebody to say that?
I think it is a little racist because, you know, you're putting people in a category and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe a little bit of racist in it, but like I said, I think it's more stupidity and ignorance.
You're judging somebody, like, but you're judging them because they black, saying that they don't got it.
What people are they talking to? Who are these people talking to?
Do you have a problem that if you go to vote and they say, "Can we please see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are"? Are you
Love showing my ID.
You have no problem with that?
Nope.
Would you have a problem if when you go to vote, if they say, "Can we please just see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are"? Do you have an issue with that?
No.
Would you have a problem if there was a rule where you have to show your ID in order to vote?
I don't think so. No.
Would you have an issue if there was a rule saying you got to show your ID before you vote?
Nah.
You cool with that?
Yeah.
I forget who said it, but there's the soft racism of low expectations.
Literally, like it's like you're calling an entire population of people dumb because they can't do something that another group of the population could do.
So, two responses to that. First is, there's a disempowerment element to that as well. Like, we're not incentivizing people. You need an identification, because if you want a job in general, you need some sort of identification. If you want to drive a car, you need some sort of identification. I driver's license, obviously. And
if you want to have kids, you have to have some kind of identification.
That's true. Social Security, and you have to have obviously the means to do that. And
but you don't have to have but you don't have to have identification to vote for the president of your government. I don't understand that, dude.
But here's my second point to that, which answers that question, is that's a lot of these votes every election, which especially in states like California, which have a very high population of people who don't have identifications. Other states, by example, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, just saying, what do those have in common? Can
I say something really fast?
Of course.
This segues into my work that I did for Ron Paul, and something I really want to say, that I am speechless to the silence about how he was treated compared to then how Sanders was treated in 2016, and compared to how he was treated this year or last year during the primaries, compared to how Trump is now being treated by the media. All the same. Pat Buchanan also treated the same exact way. Barry Goldwater also treated the exact same way. Ross Perot also treated the exact same way. All candidates and leaders who only wanted to be isolated from war, take away war from the people, wanted good constitutional behavior done by their government for their people, and just an honest, transparent way of leadership. And they all were taken down by not the voters. The voters are just the bullet. The gun is the media, and the gun and the person pulling the trigger is those rich liberal elites on the left, and those in charge of our media, and those in charge of foreign interests that are quite selfish and greedy. And we all know who they are. John F. Kennedy John F. Kennedy knew them well.
Yeah,
We know who they are.
there's a gun analogy for you. But the ammunition then for that gun are these unions that I was talking about earlier. So I can complete my statement, which easily segues us with this next section here. And I think it's especially concerning when there is what seems to be an effort all around the world, especially in countries like Australia, that are moving towards locking down its citizens and taking away their rights. And that's my main concern about Joe Biden is him being pro lockdown. But
Me too.
yeah, lockdowns are bad. We can talk a lot about lockdowns. In fact, we have so much to talk about lockdowns. We're going to do it in our next video, which we'll be releasing in a couple days from now. So keep it locked right here in the channel. If you haven't yet, subscribe. Christian, anything else you want to add?
How Bernie Sanders was fraudulently, duped during his 2 primaries that he had during his last election. He was totally swindled. He's not saying anything about this election, and now he's coming out at the very end of it all saying that he knew, well, before anything was going to happen, at the very end of everything,
a week before,
knowing what all the last 8 months were leading up to. It was like as if like the Democrat Party literally had a meeting, like I was saying earlier. They just got together with the media figures, with FBI, with people in the deep state, with governors from New York and California, mayors from Los Angeles and France, and literally, this is how I think, man, internationally. And he's still able to show his work, like he's actually able to not just say I did this stuff, but he's actually able to do this, like, I did this. Look, see, it's here. And I did this. Look, see, it's here too.
5 peace deals in 3 months, and
yeah, he did more in 3 years than Joe Biden has done in 47. And It's crazy, man. I don't know, man. Trump went through a lot. He got a lot done, and for some reason, no one's giving him any credit. But for some reason, he was still able to do it, dude. And I relate, man. I told you this last time. I relate a lot, man. I put a lot through my presidential year at Pierce, and I mean, I did a lot, dude. And like, they were relentless. It got so bad that they actually got some girl to file a complaint against me because she overheard me inside my closed office talking on the phone, and she heard me use the word bitch, and she filed a complaint against me. And the school tried to kick me out for that. Oh, I had to fight it, and I fought it, and of course I won. Please, dude. Of course I won.
That's so circumstantial. Like, who even knows?
But my point is that wasn't it. They did a lot, bro. Like when I went after them for allowing teachers to smoke on campus, ooh, that was a big one. They tried getting me for that one too, man. They said that I was doing speeches in an area that wasn't for speeches, and they tried. Oh man.
Oh, you could have gotten fired.
And then another thing. Oh, I know. I knew a little bit about them back then, but I didn't know enough.